Well, good morning, everybody. We've come to the end of the week. Hope it's been a great one for you, and you're looking forward to worshiping Jesus with us at First Baptist this Sunday. Just a reminder, we're going to observe the Lord's Supper in all three worship services this Sunday, so you'll want to be here and invite someone to come with you. Today, we are in Luke chapter 19, and the other chapters this week, when I read them, something jumped out at me and spoke to me. I have to be honest, when I read this chapter, that really didn't happen. It was one of those days, I guess, and I was reading, I read the whole chapter, and nothing jumped off the page. Nothing spoke to my heart. There was no big aha or wow. It was just, okay. I mean, I love the story of Zacchaeus. There's great truth. This is a great chapter. There's great truth in it. It includes the passage about the triumphal entry of Jesus to Jerusalem that I preached on a few weeks ago. But and I share that with you because I want you to know it is okay if you have a day when you read Scripture and it's just, okay, that was good. I like the story. It's true, but nothing blessed me, nothing confronted me, nothing jumped out at me. That's okay. You'll have days like that. Don't beat yourself up. That's okay. So I really don't have a devotional thought to share as much as I'm just going to point out a couple of maybe teaching notes, if you will, from today's chapter. And the main one has to do with contrasting the story of Zacchaeus in this chapter with the story of the rich young ruler in yesterday's chapter, in chapter 18. I want you to think about this. Both of them were rich, okay? Zacchaeus in chapter 19 was a tax collector, which means he was despised by his fellow Jews and was viewed as a sinner and a traitor to the country, and he was very wealthy. Whereas the rich young ruler, he's wealthy, but he was very respected, a very religious man, a good man. And both of them wanted to meet Jesus. And so the rich young ruler comes to Jesus. The Zacchaeus, the little fellow, runs ahead, climbs in a tree, and Jesus sees him, and they have a conversation. And it's interesting that after these two men who wanted to meet Jesus actually met him, Zacchaeus became a very generous man. The rich young ruler did not. Now, Zacchaeus' story shows us that you don't have to give away everything you own and become, poor and destitute to follow Jesus. But Zacchaeus did give away a lot, not just 10%. He was very generous. And when you put the stories together, it shows us that, Jesus is not asking you to live in poverty. But it's also showing that when you meet Jesus and you believe and become a follower, it changes how we see money. It changes how we feel about money. And while we don't give it all away and live in poverty, we do give it all to Him. And when we give it all to Him, we give away. And we give away generously. And the more we have, the more we give away, not just in dollars, but as I talked about yesterday, in percentage as well. Now, you also have in chapter 19 the parable of the nobleman and his slaves, and he was going on a journey to inherit some property. And he gave these slaves 10 mina. And when he came back, he asked for an accounting, and one had turned the 10 into 20, another slave had turned the 10 into 15, and a third slave had hidden the 10 because he knew that the master was serious and demanding, and he didn't want to take a chance on losing it, and he returned the 10. And of course the master said, "You should have at least put it in the bank and earned interest, you wicked slave," and so on. And the lesson, it's kind of a reminder of what we said in one of the chapters this week, that we are slaves and He is our master. That's in tension with He loves us and we're sons and daughters and so on as well. But when it comes to our resources, it's His, it's not ours. And we are to use our resources for His glory, for His kingdom, to advance His cause, His kingdom here on earth, and invest it in a way that enriches Jesus. something that's always been important to me and to Monisa is we want to serve Jesus when we're dead. We want to impact his kingdom when we're dead. That's why we have a will and an estate plan. and while our children will be blessed in some ways, so will God's kingdom. There's no way I want to die and not serve Jesus with my financial resources after I'm dead. I simply refuse to live otherwise because it's his. And that's just a biblical conviction. And I would encourage everyone. And by the way, those of you who are young, your parents, if you don't have a will, please get one now so the courts don't decide what happens to your kids. And learn to serve God with your money in life, and learn to serve God with your money when you die. It honors Jesus, and it's a godly thing to do. So something to think about. I look forward to seeing you Sunday as we observe the Lord's Supper, which is always a meaningful time of worship. I'll see you then, and then Monday with another devotion as we look at Luke chapter 20. God bless you, everybody.